Nerderotic.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerdrotic Podcast. I'm your host, Jon Reed. Tonight, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery. It's a new show on CBS All Access, so you may not have seen it because it's not on normal TV, but it's kicking off the fall TV schedule here at Nerdrotic. So I am thrilled that we're back podcasting about television. Joining me, as usual, from San Francisco, Mr. Nerdrotic himself, the unforgettable Gary Buechler. How's it going, Gary?
Wow, what an intro. Thank you very much. It's going very well, John. How are you?
I'm good. I'm probably more forgettable. I
Hell no.
I had fun tonight. Watching a new Star. This is what, a decade since the last Star Trek TV show was on the air, and I guess this technically isn't on the air. It's more on the pipeline or whatever, on the cloud. But it was good. I really enjoyed kind of having some good TV back and not having to just watch like Project Runway and Real Housewives anymore. We've got some real good TV back on the air.
Wow. Is that what you watch in your spare time? That's good to know. That's good. Yeah, I'm really glad to have something new. It's been a pretty piss poor summer movie season, with apologies to It, which I have not seen yet. But it's just great. It's good. It's great. It was, with all the crap we heard about Star Trek Discovery beforehand, I got to admit, I was not looking forward to this as much. I mean, I was just kind of like wincing through the beginning. I was like, oh no, this is going to be, it's like just the places I go on the internet just were dumping hate on it. And I will say that it did not deserve it. It did not. I mean, it's not a perfect show, but it did not deserve the hate that it was getting. And I don't know if that was because of CBS's marketing. They could have done a better job, to be honest with you.
I think that the show has had production problems, and that was probably feeding more of the speculation than any sort of finished product. And the fact that it's on All Access and not on CBS, which I'm sure we're going to talk about more. But I always viewed that as a way to get, like, I looked at this as like, hey, we've got this amazing event. Star Trek is back on television. This is the only property we really own that has its own name draw. Like, let's bring people to see that we're willing to put on a streaming only service. Like, this was the thing that was supposed to bring people to pay money to get their app. And I think that it's a good, like, I think that the name brand and the quality of the show is good enough that people should be paying the however much per, $5 to $10 per month to get CBS All Access to watch this.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad considering that you're paying $5.99 to maybe 2 months. You can ditch out whenever you want, so you can wait till they're done. It's going to take 2 months to show all these episodes, right? And then
November 5th, I think it stops, and then it comes back in January or something.
So it's like a $10-15 investment to get a series. I don't think that's that bad. I wish they would have had the confidence to put it on the air.
No, that's the thing.
That's a regret of mine.
Confidence thing. I honestly
wish they would have done it.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that I don't think it's a confidence thing. I think that this is something where they're like, we need something good to draw people to the app. And so like they did like a Big Brother season, and this was supposed to be the other thing, and it got pushed back from the release. But I think it was the opposite. I think they had a lot of confidence in it that it would draw people to pay money to see. Like, they're not going to put some show that nobody's going to pay to see.
You're not going to get a much better built-in fan base. I mean, right. There is better fan bases out there, bigger ones now. God, if they would have done this, Star Trek had a bigger fan base 20 years ago. It did. It had a more loyal. It's been kind of watered down. You've got your loyalists out there who will stick with it forever. But since then, we've had the Kelvin universe and Enterprise. And, I could start out by saying, huge Star Trek fan, not the biggest in the world. I wouldn't go as far as to call myself a Trekkie. I'm an original series guy through and through. I liked all the other ones. I watched up to Enterprise. I did not like Enterprise. I was out after the first episode and never went back. And it just, I don't know, it was kind of boring to me.
Yeah, it's funny that in our crew of nerds, of nerdrotic individuals, we don't have like the most hardcore Trek group, right? Like I think we all have a soft spot for certain episodes or movies or even certain like whole series. Like I remember watching Next Generation as a kid and just love it. Like Riker was like my favorite, and Geordie LaForge, like I feel like we all have a soft spot for it, but none of us are have the breadth of knowledge that a real Trekkie would have on some of this stuff, right? Like I couldn't tell you obscure character names in the Star Trek universe for the most part.
No.
But it's fun because it's in our genre and we've seen a lot of it, but it's kind of fun to come into something that I'm not that big of a fan of, that I can just enjoy, right? Like there's so much expectation in a Star Wars for me, or an X-Men, or whatever, Avengers, but for Star Trek it's just something that I look at fondly and enjoy when it's around. And that's kind of how I view this show. I do think the first hour was not nearly as good as the second hour tonight. I think that dropping both episodes was really smart of them, because the first episode was a little bit wooden and tedious, and the second episode had a lot more intrigue, a lot more high concept, a lot more battling. We got photons, we've got cloaking devices, we've got beaming people up. We get all the different tent poles of a Star Trek show or movie, and I think that you needed that second hour to kind of complete those things.
Yeah, and it's awfully early for cloaking, I thought. Now we could be corrected on that one. I was a little shocked, but I can't honestly remember when. I remember cloaking being a thing in the movies and stuff, but yeah, not the original series. And this is taking place how long again before the original series? 20 years, 30 years before Kirk.
Yeah, so what's up? So this is a prequel. I also like that it's a prequel, but they don't really advertise that in the show.
They give an exact date. They give
yes,
May 11th, 2256.
Correct.
So
but they're not like they got Sarek, right, who's young in this, right? So that it's before a certain time, but you don't. Other than that, they're not like making a bunch of like prequel style references to what's coming next, right? It's kind of like Star Wars Rebels, where they like touch on little things, but they don't like hit you over the head with it, yeah. Which I think is good.
I'm trying to look up here. This is really bad. I don't know. I can't say. I think it's it's after Enterprise, which was I think 80 years before the original series. So it's like Kirk is like probably a baby in this one. That's what I heard. So that's how that's where we're at with this. And there is the question, John, of it really does look like the Kelvin universe. I mean, it didn't have the lens flares, but it definitely had the camera angles and the colors of the uniforms. Although they did remind me a little bit of Enterprise too, not in a bad way. And there is the complaint of, wow, it looks so much more shiny than the 60s series. Well, they can't dumb down the technology. Okay, I mean, like if you want to be a purist and have them have the 60s sets.
It would look ridiculous.
It would look ridiculous. It's you're just gonna have to pretend, okay? Because this is pretend. Right. And I guess this is where this is where we're gonna be like level 7 nerds, kind of normal nerds on this one. I'm not gonna, I will nitpick things. There are things big, I would say I was a huge Star Trek fan throughout the movies, and I kind of bowed out after that horrible insurrection with the
crossover.
Cool. Well, yeah, no, Generations was bad. I never. Oh my God, I can do a whole podcast on how Kirk died and how much I hate that. But I'm cool with the changes, and I'm actually. Yeah, my one complaint will be how the Klingons look. All right. I'm down with the 24 empires, and I think you could have really made that interesting. And they didn't show them all, okay, which is good, because you can have one empire look like the Klingons from the original series, and one empire look like the Klingons like Worf is, and then you can have these new Klingons, and that would totally explain it for me. I would be totally okay, but I think they're going to make all the Klingons just look like this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were leaning that direction a little bit. Did this not remind you a little bit of the beginning of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot series, where they have like the different colonies? Yeah, I think I think that they took some notes there, and I think that it was smart to take those notes. Some of the intrigue of like of the the different what was it in Battlestar? It was the different colony, the 13th colony, right? And they're
Yeah.
the lost colony. And this is kind of like that, right? Like all of these these different types of Klingons have united to take on the Federation. And I like it. I like that there's this big looming threat out there, and it looks like we're going to get big time jumps like we did in Battlestar. This is a good setup tonight. It's weird because this episode I don't think is going to be indicative of what the rest of the series is going to be. This is like a jumping off point for like a lot of crazy shit to start happening.
It's still going to divide a lot of people, but for me, yeah, I'm in. Okay, I realized I was watching a pilot, and pilots are always rough. Go back and watch your favorite show's first episode, except for Battlestar, which had an awesome the remake
the
of Battlestar.
miniseries.
Yeah, the miniseries was great.
And then the first episode too.
Oh my God, the first episode was amazing. But this did, I wasn't blown away by this, but
no,
maybe my expectations were so lowered that I was like, okay, I was actually entertained. It moved well. Our main character, Michael.
Yep.
Which people might go, what is a woman named Michael? I actually had a female drafting teacher named Michael. So it is not that unusual at all. And, I was afraid she was going to be like a Mary Spock. Sorry, I see what I did there. But she wasn't. She was deeply flawed. She was egomaniac.
She's
Spock really
and
horrible
Kirk rolled into one, right? Like she's willing to break the rules, but she's also got the like it's all based in logic, right? So she's got kind of both facets to her. I felt like the show right now, because we didn't get Captain Lorca and a lot of other characters that we're going to get down the road, it was missing the Kirk. Like it was missing the swagger, right? There was no swagger in this episode. It was all science, like Starfleet science. There was no Starfleet cowboy out there. And so I feel like the show was missing that a little bit. And Michael was the only one to kind of bring that, right? Especially in the second episode. Like, do you agree that the first episode was a little bit dry? Like it didn't really have a lot going on.
It did. It had bad decisions. It was like the writing. That's like I said, this is not a perfect show. And, we will address, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that she is, spoiler warning here, she's Spock's older stepsister ward kind of thing. I will definitely address that. So I'm not skipping past that. I want to kind of save that for last. But the biggest problem I had was it felt rushed. The first episode felt rushed. The motivations, the characters were making horrible decisions.
Yeah.
Like how did Starfleet make it this far with the decision-making process that some of these people have? Like, I did like, I know some Star Trek fans will hate this, but I do like the arguing between Starfleet officers. That's stuff we never got before. I think, that's normal. And I guess that's against the Roddenberry doctrine of Starfleet, officers. There will be no conflict between Starfleet. I think, it's not, 1990s anymore, and it's not the 60s. It is now, right. And it's all about inner conflict.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right. First episode definitely lacked, and if they would have ended it with that, I would have not been very kind on this podcast. It was the second episode for me that kind of made it, and I could tell where Brian Fuller ended and other writers began. I don't know if anybody else could, but he got a full writing credit, John, on the first episode, which wasn't our favorite. But it, and as far as I was concerned, as far as I heard, that he left the project and had nothing to do with it. Like he didn't ask them to take his name off it, but he's like, I am not making a decision anymore. I don't write. Right. I hope they take what I made and make something good out of it. That was his quote. And they apparently left enough of it there to where he gets a full writing credit.
Yep.
and he even got a credit
What do you
on the
think
second
about
episode.
that? Because that first episode, the second episode I thought had more meat to it, both in battle, but also in like, I mean, the best lines were in the second episode. Like, we got our first "live long and prosper." You must do better because I know you can. We are not. We are explorers, not soldiers. Like these kind of concepts were all brought up in the second episode. The first episode was this weird character story between Michael and Captain Georgiou, played by Michelle Yao. And it was really just the two of them, with a little bit of Doug Jones playing Lieutenant Saru, right? So that's really all we got from that first episode, was this weird kind of tension between the two, and this kind of vague backstory of Michael being like raised as a Vulcan and hating Klingons, and so she really wanted to just take them down when they first showed up, and that's where the conflict came from. And so it was just this interplay between these two characters, and it really seemed very small, right? Like, first of all, it was happening in the middle of nowhere, so there's this conflict happening in the middle of space. Well, you think when the Klingons were uniting against Starfleet, they do it like somewhere people are, like to make some sort of a statement, not like in the middle. And I know they kind of stumbled upon it, but still, like, it was just so weird that this was all happening in the middle of nowhere. And then you had all this kind of inner conflict between the two main characters, and that's really all you got in that first episode. Everything happened in the second episode. So I don't know if they planned to have this be a 2-hour premiere, or if they just knew they had to air them both. But I think that had they led off with just that first episode, people would have been like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't the Star Trek I want, and the second one gave us a little bit more.
Well, they have a lot of explaining to do. I mean, the first episode was a lot on the Klingons, and I know Trekkies are really attached to characters speaking Klingon. I'd have kind of been okay with them starting out in Klingon, and then they did this in The Winds of War. It's an old mini series done back in the 80s about World War II, and they all the characters started talking in Japanese and German, then it went into English.
Yes,
and I kind of wish they would have done that, because what you're missing speaking, and I guess they spoke perfect Klingon. There will be Trekkies who will correct me on that if I'm wrong. It sounded pretty good, but it takes away from the emotion of it. I mean, like, I was reading some pretty good writing between some of it, not all of it. I mean, I still think that whole thing was rushed and it was kind of ridiculous, but there was they weren't trying to make them look like just paper bad guys. They yes, they are racist and all that shit, but they believed in their empire. The guy wanted to unify his empire. I mean, there was some weird stuff like Starfleet's coming to take our individuality. I'm like, are they libertarian Klingons? Or, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could be, I don't know what I heard that rumor that they're based on Trump supporters. I didn't get
Klingons.
Yeah, that's one of the writers said that, but I completely did not get that at all. I got it. I think,
in fact, I
thought like it was based on like mid 19th or mid 20th century empires, like the Japanese Empire, and like that's what it kind of felt like.
Yeah, in fact, I thought that Michael was more of the like, we just need to do what we need to do. I don't care that the precedent is that we don't strike first. Like, we need to strike first. That's how you get these guys respect. Like, I thought she was speaking more the kind of along those political lines, right? Like, I didn't think it was like overtly political in any way, shape, or form. I just thought it was interesting that there were these, that anyone would think it is. First of all, is strange to me. But secondly, especially a writer on the show. But secondly, I thought that
I'm sorry.
No. It's fascinating.
It was definitely out there. Actually, YouTubers made videos about it. I'm not making this shit up. One of the guys from the writing staff said he was trying to turn a mirror to today's politics, although this was shot over a year ago. So I think he was just trying to sound topical or something.
Well, Michael,
or maybe he's misquoted.
Michael said in this episode, it would be a mistake to confuse race with culture. And I thought that that was a very interesting statement to make. Like, that was the only really political thing I really took out of the show. And I did write it down because I thought that, like, that is a very, I think that that's a very topical kind of idea to bring up, that like they're saying that you should understand that we shouldn't be judging these people. And she's like, why? Like, you're confusing like the culture of aggression of the Klingons with like my race. That doesn't make any sense. And I like it. I think that that's an interesting point of view to be bringing out in Star Trek, right? That was one of the more interesting things from that first episode that I gathered.
Yeah, that was a weird statement. Okay. Was he talking about like her race?
Yeah,
like Michael's
like,
race.
Yes. Like,
would that be the appropriate thing to say? I mean,
yeah.
Like, would that even matter in 2256 and you're the Federation and everything's kumbaya? I mean, it's like
they were saying you're the first human to go through Vulcan training.
Oh, okay. I was like, that.
Yeah. So you should understand that you shouldn't be judging other people. And she's like, no, this isn't about like me being a human going through Vulcan training. This is about cultural aggressive tendencies of Klingons. They respond to certain things. Yeah,
that's, I caught half that statement and I thought that was kind of weird, but it may, maybe it was talking about the Klingons or something like that. So there's my clarification.
Fascinating.
We got a chance to watch this episode once, so and I live in a house full of distractions.
Yeah,
dogs barking, to go to bed and all that. So sorry, dogs. Folks. But dude, dogs. Yeah, that was okay. The Klingons' motivation. I understand that guy was like a religious heretic, okay, and that his ideal was maybe even ISIS-like or something. I don't know.
I think they were trying to make that statement. Right?
Yeah. Okay. But it came together so fucking too fast. I mean, that was actually a plot that would like be great over the entirety of a season, to have like the Klingon Empire used one battle out in the middle of nowhere and go, okay, high fives, we're good, we're back together.
But that's what's so interesting about this, Gary, is that this came together fast because the show isn't going to be at all like these two episodes. Like, no, the show, it looks like it's going to jump in time. Like, the redhead that's on the ship is going to come back with like half her head shaved with like cybernetic implants. And like, when you watch the coming attractions for the rest of the show, it's really going to be about the subjugation of Starfleet by Klingons and like them having to rise up. And that to me is a really fucking interesting Star Trek show, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is the point where they started out as this peaceful thing, and then they realized like they got punched in the mouth, and they realized, you know what, we can't do this Discovery thing and not fight. I mean, even Jason Isaacs' character says it, I don't know what context, but in the scenes for next week, he's all, you got to win war, but then like what's next? There's something bigger after that, after you hopefully win the war.
I can't wait till we get him on the show. There's so many like things missing.
He's a good actor. I like him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the whole idea of like the Starfleet team was missing in this, because it was just about Michael and it was just about Captain Georgiou, right? Like, we got some little things from the crew, but for the most part, it was just those two plus a little bit of Lieutenant Saru on screen. And so we were missing the like teamwork aspect of what I like about Star Trek, right? Like, everyone has a role, everyone is an expert in their role, everyone has to do their role really, really well for them to get out of the scrapes, the fights that they find themselves in. And we were missing that in this episode. And I think that going forward, it's going to be assembling that team up in the shadow of this looming threat. And so, like, more than anything, these episodes made me very excited for the next episode. And I hope that they finally like dig in the moment soon. Because if it's all going to be set up for the next thing, it's going to get real old real fast.
Yes. Okay. So and totally agree. And we will get back to that. Let's go over a little bit of the episode.
Yes.
I have questions and So I did like the concept of the beacon, by the way. I thought that was actually kind of cool. And
Which
how
concept?
there's a big space beacon and it actually lights up and it sends a signal. And this was a big setup to lure Starfleet out there to, get them to attack, to get the Klingons to unite the 24 houses. They did and spoiler warnings. Oh, by the way, we assume you watched the show. We're going to spoil the shit out of it. And it kind of worked, but it didn't fully work. It didn't bring in all the houses. I mean, there were 20. It did bring out 24 ships. But what did you think about the ship design, the sarcophagi, them putting the dead bodies in tombs outside the ships? That was another piece of misinformation that was put out by the news. It was fake news. Was they said the ships were going to be sarcophagi and stone, but they weren't. They're a metal alloy. They are actual ships, and if you look at them, they're huge, and they do have to explain the fact that they're freaking huge. And Klingons, as you know, appropriate the Romulan birds of prey, so that's kind of a smaller ship. So what do you think of the ships being like? Just it's clear that they're an older culture, and I don't know. What do you think about that, John?
So in general, I thought that everything looked pretty cool. I did think that it, whereas like the style of the filming was very modern, the look and feel of the show was very classic sci-fi, right? Like the Klingons with their like stabs that they're fighting on this like half rock, half metal bridge inside this big ship, right? Like the look of it felt very, very classic. And so I felt that it harkened to like old school sci-fi, maybe not classic Star Trek necessarily, but just like classic sci-fi. I did have some problems with not necessarily the ship design. I thought the ships were over designed a little bit. And I thought that on top of that, it looked a little bit video gamey to me. Yep. That's not to say that I didn't like a lot of it. Like some of it looked really, really cool, but some of it was especially like the stationary models. If they're not moving or doing anything cool in space, they looked a little bit, like I said, over designed and video gamey. I feel like that's more negative than I really feel about it, though. Like I did enjoy it all made sense, so it didn't really stick out to me one way or the other. Where do you think, Gary?
I completely agree with you on that one, John. Over designed, too damn big. I'm still not sure about having cloaking that early in stage. They might have. I honestly can't remember, but it seems to me that's a little odd.
The visual of the cloaked ship breaking through the hull of the Aurora? No,
the Europa, and the
Europa.
dumbest admiral in Starfleet history, by the way.
Yep.
Admiral
I agree.
Dumas, he should be named
Admiral Dumbass.
Just like that. I called for peace. And we're waiting for their envoy. Okay,
it just like tears.
It's like.
I thought that the hologram, like moving around as it was getting broken up, was really cool. Like what they saw in their ship, it looked so cool. And then, not necessarily the ship design, but like just the visual of it cutting through like a knife, and then the cloaking coming off, and you just see the scale of it. It was really impressive. But I think if you take the parts away, if you deconstruct it, it's a little bit much. Like I think it's unnecessary.
Okay, that Klingon's name was Tukuvma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tukuvma the Unforgettable.
Was that his ship that was ramming the Europa?
No, I don't think it was.
Because it couldn't have been, because I was gonna say there's no way that ship's gonna ram and then not get blown up, because a Starfleet ship is like got dilithium crystal. It's got a reactor that would be like a few thousand nuclear weapons blowing up. So I don't see how his ship could have survived. That's what I was like, is it his? That's where I was confused. Some of the space stuff was a little confusing. Plus, at the end of this, remind me to talk about technical issues with the streaming. Okay, because sure. I had many. Really? many.
What did you watch it on?
I watched it on my PS4.
Oh, see, I watched it on the Roku, so we were watching on different streams. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll talk about that later. But
Yeah,
okay, so that's
okay.
good. So the ship, so the Klingon ship did blow up with it, because if it didn't, I'd be all, wait a second.
I don't think it,
you know.
I'm not sure if it blew up with it either. I think it may have just jumped away with the
If
rest
it
of the
didn't,
ship.
then the Klingon Empire will destroy the Federation.
Yeah,
If it can survive that, it can survive anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was just a lot of weird decisions made, like that admiral going about it. Let's talk about Michael's mutiny. I know she felt really strongly about this thing, but she's the one who freaking caused it. I mean, she insisted on going out to the beacon. Okay, and so the beginning of the episode, there's a beacon. There's something out there. They don't know what, and it's in an asteroid field. It's an impossible situation. So they send their first officer out, because she insists, to go out and inspect it. She says it's going to take 12 minutes. I'll be right back. Famous last words. She gets into her awesome spacesuit and she flies out and she gets to the beacon, and all of a sudden she looks at it and she's like, wow, it's really old and amazing. And, oh, I don't know what this is. And it never would have crossed their mind it might be Klingon. Weren't they close to the Klingon territory?
And she seemed to know a lot about Klingons. So yes and yes.
Oh, she jumped to a lot of conclusions, which I'm about to get to. So she gets to this beacon, and she doesn't know it's a beacon. She just looks like it's a big, like, thing in space, but it looks like a ship. It looks like a formidable ship by a culture that might like war just a little bit. Okay?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's very artsy, but it looks, bad. Okay. And she gets out there and a Klingon, faces her, and she puts on her thrusters in her spacesuit and stabs it and kills him immediately. For one, that Klingon was like 3 feet taller than her. So, and maybe he just made a bad move. I can accept that, but she like turned his own spear on him and put the thrusters. But I have to point out, after watching The Expanse, John, that you don't need to keep your thruster on your suit. You are in space. There is no anything pushing you back. Actually, those larger asteroids will have their own gravitational pull.
Right. It'll pull you to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just need a little, that's all you need. Now, which they were doing later, but I'm glad they showed the little magnetic boots and stuff. It's very Expanse too.
And very Firefly.
And very Firefly, and very Star Trek too. They did that in Star Trek before. So yeah, she makes this move, and she so she kills the Klingon, and it might have been by accident. It probably was by accident. She did try to talk to it. It did attack first, but then she killed it and was floating around in space. And then they got her back, and she was irradiated. She jumps out of her irradiation thing early, before she's done, and her DNA is like falling apart, they said. And she starts freaking out because it's Klingons, and the captain believes her, like at first, because they lost the video from her helmet cam, but the captain completely trusts this woman. Like she offered her command at the beginning of the show. And then it just gets weird. The decision making just gets weird. It seems like, man, we really got to get to this point and we don't know how to get there, so we're just going to have our main character make some irrational decisions.
So which character do you think made the irrational decisions? Or
I think Michael made some very out of character. I mean, we didn't have a character. It just seemed rash. It seemed like she could have convinced Michelle Yeoh's character. I remember her first name, Philippa. I don't know how to say her last name.
Well,
but I again, I need to watch it again, but it just seemed a bit rushed. That's all.
I agree that it felt rushed. I also, though, feel like the point really was that Michelle Yeoh's character was never going to fire first, because it's policy not to fire first. Starfleet has trained you never to break policy. And Michael doesn't really care as much about the policy if logically saving everyone, like if it's like logically we're all going to die if we follow the policy, or we all live if we don't, she's going to not. And so I think that she figured in the heat of the moment it was going to take too much time to try to convince her, and she probably wouldn't be able to convince her, so she might as well just do it and ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Okay.
But I do think that because I felt that the captain was acting irrationally, because she has so much trust in her first officer, and her first officer laid out the argument pretty well, and she still says no, gets really upset, and then throws her in the brig, like in the heat of the moment. Like,
well, no, she used
she was wrong, and she still
Vulcan
threw her in the
pinch
brig
on her.
immediately.
She used the damn Vulcan pinch on her. I mean, that's
Yeah.
she got mad at her. They asked her into the office, and then Michael zaps her, and that's it. After that, like, you just knocked out your captain, who was your friend.
But then immediately afterward, she's proven right, and they still throw her in the brig.
That doesn't matter. I mean,
I know
in life, I mean, as a kid, like, I teach my son, even if they're right about something, later, it's a hard argument to make against it, but she, if she hadn't have knocked her captain out, she'd have an argument right up to knock, because that, hey,
bad move.
It's
she
a bad
thought
move
she was saving everybody.
She thought she was saving everybody, but I don't think it would have made a damn difference if they would have fired first or not, because that would have still brought the other Klingon ships out there, and then other Starfleet ships would have gone out there, and what they say in the scenes, like 8,000 people died.
Yes.
So, I mean, what will make that decision better, and it does look like they are going this way, is like she's going to have to live with that, and she realizes she made a mistake. Like this, I felt strongly, and yes, I was right, but I went about it the wrong way, and I got 8,000 people killed. So,
it's her journey toward being a captain herself in the future.
I don't know how you become a captain after that. I think I love a good redemption story.
Yeah,
I love a good redemption story. So, and it is exciting that we're going to get what has been talked about before, or alluded to in Star Trek before, was a battle with the Klingons before there was this peace. Like they said, there had been some terrorist attacks, and we've had about 100 years of nothing in between that, and it's been it's been a Cold War. So now it's heated up, and this will be the conflict that I guess leads to another semi-peace, which happens in the original series. I mean, the Klingons, and they do interact with Starfleet. They're not friends or anything like that, but they're not actively fighting each other. So this will be an actual Klingon war, which is cool. Very excited to see that, and I think it'll just make things better. And I don't want to harp on this, but have one of your factions look like the Klingons from the original series. Have another one look like one from Next Generation. And dude, that would be a great explanation for the first time they changed them. I mean, and maybe that's where they're going with this, which would be great. I think it would, I'm very happy this wasn't a reboot, though, folks. This definitely is not a reboot. This is in the original series timeline. So that is a fact. So, glad about that one.
Of the lack of a Kirk/Riker type character, like kind of the swagger of Starfleet. Like, what do you think about missing that element? And do you think that this Isaacs is Jason Isaacs is going to be able to bring that to the show, or it's because it seems like his character is more of like a soldier than like a cowboy, than like a space cowboy.
Yeah, how could you make a character like that? Like well, I guess you could make him a supporting character. I think it's a really interesting concept to make a captain a supporting character. I actually like that idea. Kind of flipping the script. It will miss it definitely, because what did Deep Space Nine miss the first 4 years? What did Star Trek Voyager miss its entire season? It missed being cool. Okay, we don't want this to evolve into techno babble tachyon ray talk, which Star Trek, I mean, I was honestly, I finished out Voyager, but I was so freaking over it after the second season, because it just got so boring, and I was so God, if I did a podcast back then, I would have been, I hated Berman, the guy who ran the show. I hated that guy with a passion, man. I would have just preached about it every podcast. But as long as it doesn't turn into just boring, paper thin, nobody cool, no swagger. I mean, that's why I like the Harry Mudd that they're bringing in, who is a character I always hated in the original series. Could not stand him, but just what I heard in the scenes, like he's kind of like the Mr. Robot of Star Trek. He's going
to be played by Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson, and I love Rainn Wilson,
Yeah.
and he's talking about the little people, and I'm like, oh, that's an aspect of Star Trek we've never heard, and that's great. So, could this be the Battlestar Galactica of Star Trek? I think it's a possibility. It didn't start out as well. It has potential. It did not start out nearly as well.
But even if it's like a B minus, prequel slash, it's not a reboot, but if it's it's a new version of Star Trek, right? And even if it's like a B minus to a Battlestar's A, it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be good. I like the idea that the Klingons are essentially the Cylons, right? Like coming after Starfleet, and Starfleet isn't quite as militarized yet. And so it's this kind of interesting idea of the militarization of Starfleet. And they're science people now with some, military ranks, but they're basically scientists, and they're going to have to become soldiers. And that's what this set up, right? That's what these 2 episodes set up. And that's, I think, the evolution we're going to see. And I think that's an interesting evolution to
well, and absolutely right. And it brings another question up, and we're at a point of, do you appease or do you stand your ground? Because they went, even though it was outskirt Federation territory, they went out and smacked Starfleet in the mouth. Yep. But they didn't say they were coming after him. The guy left. The guy was leaving, and he said, just, we don't want you. Stay the fuck away. Just stay away. We don't want to talk to you. Now, do you just leave them alone? I mean, like, knowing that they might come after you, or maybe they don't, or, I guess they're getting our house in order. So I guess that would definitely be on the table, that eventually they're going to come after you. Or do you stand your ground and like, hey, they did come to our territory, and, we're pretty peaceful, but we got to kind of fight back on this one, or you're going to get smacked again.
I mean, now that they have a martyr, it looks like the Klingons are going to go full out, like,
oh, sure. Well, you got to bring in prison rules on this one, John.
Yeah, exactly.
You get smacked in the mouth, no matter how big the opponent, you better hit him back, or you're going to be
harder. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
what did you think of? So we have Michael in the brig, because she goes against the captain after the Klingon altercation, right?
Yep.
What did you think of? Like, I thought it was so cool to see the hull broken off and the brig and the kind of force field around the brig out into open space. Like, I thought that was such a interesting, it was like the moon door in, or like the moon jail that Tyrion was in Game of Thrones, right? Like, it's just like space and your jail cell. It was cool looking. It was pretty interesting.
Well, apparently the power must be self-sustaining, because like the edges and the lights all stayed lit right up to the point of where the force field came down and the ship broke off. But it is, the 23rd century, so they probably figured that out.
Yep.
We
saw that when the hole in the bridge also ripped open, it came down and
only one person got sucked out.
Only one person got sucked out.
Well, again, there could be some technology that we don't know that keeps people in their seats and everything. Okay. But the whole thing of her escaping that by talking the computer, using logic on a computer and talking a computer out of it, which was interesting, but I guess it could be done.
It was cool.
Then she did a space jump for 15 seconds.
Yeah, but she only did 6.
Okay. In the vacuum of space, I am no scientist or doctor. I just kind of don't think a human can last a nanosecond in the vacuum of space, much less 6. Because it's absolute zero. So you would just be a popsicle the minute you that would be it. You don't like freeze slowly. But I could be wrong.
It says I just Googled it while you were talking. It says at most an astronaut without a suit would last about 15 seconds before losing consciousness from lack of oxygen. Of course, on Earth, you could hold your breath for several minutes without passing out.
So the vacuum of space is, what's the temperature? Is there no temperature?
Yeah, what about no, you're going to lose, you won't freeze to death that quickly, even I think that sounds about right. I mean, it'll be painful as fuck, I'm sure.
And then there's radiation probably, because they were, I don't know. Okay, so I sit corrected. It just seems a little crazy. Hey, they did it in Guardians of the Galaxy too. They were out in space for a long ass time, and I don't know. Again, I watched The Expanse. They're very good with the science stuff. Okay, very good show, ladies and gentlemen. You should watch it. Yeah, that she's a badass, but she wasn't overly a badass. She wasn't perfect because I was so afraid we were gonna get dare I even say the term? I just won't. I'm just gonna get some Mary Sueism, okay? Mary Spockism, where she was just gonna be good at everything and I'm awesome, you're awesome, let's be awesome together. Woo, let's beat the Klingons. But it wasn't. There was actually some strife, there was character development, she had imperfections, which is completely unlike any Marvel Comics writing right now. So yeah, I actually liked her character. And that's one of the better things in the show. The acting was pretty good, you know. Michelle Yeoh, she's all right, you know.
Yeah, I agree. She was not my favorite. She was definitely the most wooden character in this for me. She it just came off as very it kind of seems like some of these actors were a little bit unprepared for their lines.
Yep.
And the dialogue came off really stiff, especially in that first episode. Again, the second episode was like a vast improvement for me on everything, on like character, decision making, motivation, writing, you know, having some meaning behind what was going on. I thought that they just did a lot better with that second episode. The first episode just felt very weird. It did not feel like a very good self-contained Star Trek episode. It just felt very strange. Whereas the second episode, I think, really did set up the rest of the series very well.
Yeah. I just hope everything, you know, once something good comes out, everybody wants to emulate it, and that's good. And I think it would be good to emulate Game of Thrones in some things, but don't try to emulate everything, like the constant betrayal of the strife. You know, you want to do the flipping of the script that Game of Thrones, the book does. I don't know, the show does it so much anymore, but I could see its influence. Game of Thrones influence is on everything right now. Okay. But I can definitely see the Battlestar influence on this, which that's a great influence. I was always wondering why, when they were doing this, they didn't just Ronald Moore is out there, man. I mean, he wrote for DS9. He is a Star Trek guy. He maybe turned it down. I don't know. The thing they have to fix though is the Klingons. I mean, that was a lot of Klingon, dude. That was a lot of Klingon, and it's emotionless. And plus these guys are talking through heavy makeup, which was a little too heavy in my opinion. And I'll agree a little bit with our boy Dennis, who had to pipe in with Mr. Negative Nelly, that he said that the Klingon sounded like Arseface, and I said it sounded like Bane and Arseface a little bit. You know, it wasn't that bad, but that will get annoying if I have half an episode of guys talking through like it looks like an inch of makeup. I mean, that was heavy makeup.
There's lots of plastic.
Yeah. And I'm glad, because the one thing, I only watched one episode of the Orville, but remember in later Star Treks, like to be an alien, all you had was a prosthetic on your ear or a weird nose ridge, you know, and I love how they totally make fun of that in Orville, which is funny. But so I'm glad they went that direction, but man, there's definitely improvements, but I'll say again, it wasn't that bad.
No,
it wasn't.
I don't think. I mean, I would give this a passing grade. Like this was a fun start. Like it was a start.
C plus.
Sure,
it was a C plus. It was a C plus, and you were all expecting an F out there. I mean, I was too. Okay, so.
No, I would definitely give it like C plus. Yeah, that's definitely like again. I would probably go B minus for my own grade on it. I would say I would give the first episode like a not very good, but the second one I thought was really intriguing, and I think that it helped to also give the like next week or this season on Star Trek Discovery, because all of that looked really, really compelling as well.
No, oh my God, the scenes. Let's talk about them. I mean,
let's do it.
That's what really got me excited. I was fully expecting to get Jason Isaacs' character in, and I know that was actually a late addition. So I don't know. I heard there was tons of rewrites, reshoots, crazy reshoots on this. And Jason Isaacs' character was like brought in way later than everybody else. So I think that's interesting. But with Michelle Yeoh, yes, I just want to go back on that. It totally seemed like she got her script the day before she shot the first episode. Like the lines were up there, you know.
Mhm.
But oh my god, the next scene, you see her on being transported to the Star Trek Discovery. We don't even see the Discovery the first 2 episodes, and
No.
she is going to prison. She gets sentenced to prison at the end of the 2nd episode. The result of her mutiny got a bunch of Starfleet, got an admiral killed, a bunch of Starfleet officers, a bunch of ships got effed up. The Klingons made them look terrible, and it was basically all of Michael's fault.
Mhm.
And they had this bright idea to capture the main Klingon guy at the end. I'll get to the scenes in a second. We forgot to mention this. So they
Yes.
beam on board.
No, but it was a smart idea, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather him not be a martyr. You'd rather capture him and get the win, and you have that
Yes.
opportunity to maybe do that. So it's a risk, a big risk, and your captain okayed it. Like your whole mutiny didn't work out so well, and now all of a sudden your captain's trusting you again, and you're going after this guy. So it's like yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go.
Okay, no. Bring some red shirts with you.
Yeah.
It was just Michael and Michelle Yeoh, and again, I don't mean to sound like this guy, but I'm this guy. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things. I can have blue guys teleporting around, giant green guys jumping around. I cannot suspend my belief of 2 human beings. I'm not even going to go women. Okay, I'm talking men. A 6'5" man taking on a Klingon and hand to hand. You're fucking dead. They're bigger.
Yeah.
They're better. They're stronger. They're super fucking human. Like Vulcans have a hard time with them, and they are super strong.
Mhm.
So these 2 people go on the ship and take on Klingons and fight them hand to hand. I'm like, no, stop. And okay, so Michelle Yeoh gets, shanked. Okay, yeah. You went on. You didn't bring your red shirts, like a good captain should. And yeah, of course they fucking failed.
So then the engineer says because he can't find life signs, he can't beam her. Is that new? Like, has that always been the case? I feel like they have beamed up dead and or unconscious people before.
That has to be new. And I think it was because they were low on power. I'm going to make an excuse. I think it was because they were low on power. Because that sounds effing ridiculous. What are you reserving your? I mean, that's stupid. I mean, I can see a Vulcan ship doing that. That's logical. Like, why would we waste any resources on the dead? That's stupid. Right. But to leave her body there, not give her a proper funeral because of a few, tachyon beams. I don't know what the fuck.
He said, I cannot lock onto her to beam her without signs of life. That was his reason.
Yes.
And I've never heard that before.
Nope.
That's new. Nope. Okay. I just want to
I haven't either. Okay. So, I also want to talk about Doug. Well, we're talking about the scenes, and then we'll get to that.
Yeah, let's talk about the scenes.
So the scenes, she's going to prison, and I guess she's being transported there, or she's being taken to the Star Trek Discovery, and she's in the ship with some other inmates, and they're giving her shit. And I can't tell you how happy that made me feel. Like, I hope it wasn't going to be, she does this terrible thing, she gets sentenced, and all of a sudden she gets easily forgiven. So it looks like it's going to be a dynamic of the show. Like, here's this pariah who's going to be on the ship that everybody fucking hates. And she's just going to have to doubly prove herself now. So her arrogance got her in trouble, and now she's been humbled, and now she's got to fight back. That's the kind of story I kind of like. I kind of like a good redemption story.
Me
too.
It
seemed real, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of political intrigue, and it's just not going to be all balls out battle. And yes, we're going to see a lot of conflict within Starfleet itself.
Yep.
It kind of looks like Jason Isaacs' character takes her in, and others are not happy about it. But definitely take a look at those scenes over the next day. They're really good. I don't know.
They're really good. I know. I totally agree. That's what got me more excited than even watching this episode. There was a weird part in the scenes where like Michael is like, it looked like with scientists looking at like weird water particle or something. Like there was definitely some sciencey stuff in there. It reminded me of the ending of Battlestar season 2 a little bit, where it flashes forward and then all the like Cylons have them in like camps, like waiting to
the year jump. That was crazy.
The year jump. And this feels like maybe they're going to do a bit of a time jump. Like things have died down a little bit. Things aren't looking so good. Died down as far as like them, putting her in prison and what she's done, like the stigma of her actions maybe will have gone, like she'll be looked at a little bit more positively enough that like this captain might take her on, right? Versus like right now where nobody would. And it seems like they're just in some really bad situations and they need her knowledge and her skill set. And so it looks like she's going to be, become part of Star Trek Discovery. And I like the, the energy. There's an intensity to this narrative that I think is good for Star Trek. Star Trek can kind of get a little bit wandery, a little bit, it's exploring. And I like that, right? You need to have that aspect to it. It has to be the dominant aspect. But I also think that there needs to be some urgency there, that something is going on in the background. And I like that it's this Klingon, unity that's happening and the Klingon war that's happening. So I like it.
No, I love the stakes. Expanse
exactly.
does that. There's all these warring factions, but then there's also this proto molecule out there that's threatening apocalypse. Game of Thrones. There's the White Walkers. The Reavers in Serenity. There's always the big boogeyman, and you're like, guys, stop fighting. There's something else. I love that kind of story. That's kind of like, I don't know now, but with us in life, but I'm so surprised, and I'm actually on Rotten Tomatoes. I was purposely staying away from Rotten, and I don't fully trust Rotten Tomatoes. I actually there was a screening last night with a bunch of stars. One of my Facebook friends, who I know, went there, and they all were tweeting pretty much word for word the same thing. So I was like smelling a skunk right there. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound genuine. And they did a review embargo until today, which never is good.
Right.
But as I go to the tomato meter, embargo is lifted. 85. It's at 85%.
Yes.
That's with critics. So that's a surprise. This might be the one thing that bucks the trend of, I wonder why they did the embargo. Because it's clear they were confident in it, John. I want to agree with you on that. Like, if they weren't confident, they wouldn't have put it on the streaming service. I mean, they were confident enough to delay it. They're like, we feel like we want to get this right. Did they get it perfectly right? No, but like, it definitely has hope. I'm going to stick with the show.
I think it's going to get better and better. I think that it's going to improve as it goes along, especially from those scenes that we've been talking about. And I agree with you, Gary. I mean, you're right. They wouldn't have done it. They would have just canceled it, because this was the 10. This and Big Brother were the 10, and Good Fight, which was the Good Wife sequel, were the tentpole originals for CBS All Access. And I think that they were betting on this, and they couldn't lose the bet. I think the mindset at CBS was, it's better to not give us the show and cancel it than to give us a bad one, so that people don't flock away from CBS All Access and never come back because we screwed them over, and that our all access content is secondary content that's not worth the money. Like, they don't want that stigma, so they're only going to put stuff that they believe in onto this. And I think that this is worth believing in. I think that it's not the best sci-fi I've ever seen, but it's good, and it's compelling, and I think that it's a service to the Star Trek brand. I think that it's not something that people are going to shun, like you were just saying, like, oh, I couldn't stand Voyager. Like, I don't think this is going to be that. I think this is going to be something that people are going to
go back and watch Star Trek Next Generation season 1. It's awful. It's fucking awful. I mean, awful. I'll say it again. It's so, I don't know, the ADHD culture that I am proudly part of might not. If I was a hardcore Trekkie, I might not like the show, but I'm not. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I would say I'm like 50% Trekkie.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I think the only people who are going to really dislike this show are people who are looking to dislike this show, because there's stuff that you can pick apart with it, right? Like, if you're going in saying like, I'm going to hate this show, and you'll find those things that'll make it a hateable show for you. It's not perfect, but if you're looking to try to enjoy the show, there's a lot there to enjoy as well. And so if you have an open mind and go into it and say like, hey, I'm going to give this a chance, there's a lot to like. There's good stuff going on here. But if you go into it saying, I'm going to hate this thing, there's also stuff to hate. So, you know, I just think it depends on the mindset you're going into it with.
And there is a lot of episodes. It's 17, I believe.
Yeah.
So because they really
It's a
do
full
need to
season.
develop some characters. Like Doug Jones's character. Met Doug Jones, super nice guy. Met him at a con when he was doing Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four. He's worked with Guillermo del Toro. Again, he was hamming it up with the fans, and just love a guy like that. You can give me a big old hug. And his character needs developing.
Well, he's the Data of the show, right? Like he's
it seemed like generic Data.
Yes, it did.
There needs something for him to stand out, because he's a good enough actor to do that. Actually, I think he's perfect for a Data Spock type role, but he needs something to differentiate himself. He's a little bit cowardly, because they can sense death, and I guess his race was kind of cattle. So that's interesting. You can play with that and make him braver over time or something. He could be a Wesley. You know,
he could be Angel. A Darwin from the X-Men. I see him being a little bit like that, where he starts off and he's got all these issues, but he overcomes them and becomes kind of a badass. I hope that's where they go with him.
I think that's where they're gonna go with him. You know, and then the other characters were just nothing. I mean, like zero.
Well, they're gonna introduce us to a whole new crew. Aside from, I think we're getting the red-haired girl, Denis, Claire McConnell. I think she's going to get a bit of a makeover. I think that's who it was. And then, you know, and then aside from that, and Lieutenant Saru, who's Doug Jones, I think we're going to get a whole new supporting cast with Jason Isaacs' crew. So, you know, I think that we just got introduced to a couple characters, and the ensemble hasn't even been shown to us yet, which is a weird choice.
I'm looking at the crew list right now, and I'm just like, I don't remember. Oh, I got that guy mixed up. I got like Lieutenant Tyler mixed up with like Dr. Nambu or something like that. I mean, like there's two brown-haired dudes. I just couldn't tell the difference. You know, two handsome brown-haired guys, can't tell the difference between the two of them. So
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. They did a really bad job at all of the character work except for with Michael and Michelle Yeoh's character. But I don't think that was the point of these two episodes. What do you think about the idea of having 2 hours dedicated to like the prequel, to like the prelude? Do you think that's a little excessive?
No, I think it was needed on this one.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair.
The writing should have been tighter in the first episode. So no, the answer would have been no. But given we got the writing in the first episode, it really needed to happen. And nobody mentioned about getting 2 episodes. I know they premiered 2 at the red carpet, so that kind of put it in my mind they might do it. But
I thought they were going to be on different days. I thought we were going to get one today and one tomorrow, but they just dropped them both at the same time. I think that if they had tightened up the first episode, we could have got a little bit of Jason Isaacs' character at the very end of the second episode to kind of lead into the rest of the series. I think that could have been useful.
That would have been useful. I mean, they did that with Preacher. They split they did first night, second night. That was just annoying. It was totally annoying. And it really, it hurts us recappers, by the way.
Yes.
So I'm glad they did it this way.
We're going to get 3 episodes of Runaways in November at the same time. Anyway. So you wanted to talk about technical issues.
First, let's talk about Spock's stepsister.
Yes.
And then technical issues. Sorry to cut you off there. I just really want to still have a major problem with this. Okay, this is not something I'm going to swallow easily. Even being a 50% Star Trek fan, man, there is going to be people who have a huge I don't know why you made this decision. Maybe you're trying to I think they were trying to shoehorn in Sarek, and they decided to go this route. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Spock has never made a single reference to her at all, ever. This is going to be a hard sell to Star Trek fans, even 50% Star Trek fans. I'd have been okay with this character not being connected to them at all. I mean, like, it was totally unnecessary. You could have still had her being raised as a Vulcan, but Vulcan's a really big planet. And she just happened to be found by Sarek, and no. So that one, I just hope they just forget
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. No, they're gonna lean into that one. You know they're gonna lean.
Oh, that's gonna be a tough one to sell. CBS. I question that decision. There's a lot of things you could have done. That
Again,
one's
I'm going to
weird.
keep an open mind. I'm hoping that they make it more of a situation where she enrolled in the Vulcan school and Sarek was like her favorite teacher and he took her under her wing in that way. I hope that they lean more into that, like student teacher rather than like father daughter. I don't know.
Well, they said Ward.
I know.
So yeah. I mean, okay, I could have even accepted that he was a teacher.
Yeah.
But another thing is Sarek smirked a lot.
He did have some emotion.
Vulcans don't smirk. Okay, they don't. They don't feel. They don't have emotions. They do not smirk.
But he's the father / ward or warden of of two of the most emotional Vulcans ever to come out of
human.
Vulcan.
One's half human and one's all human.
All human. Yeah.
So yeah,
they rubbed off on him.
Technical issues.
Yes.
Sound was terrible.
Yes.
I've run digital optical 5.1. It wasn't running. Okay, so I was just going through normal surround, and through my center speaker, I had to crank it up to hear. It was really uneven sound. My rear channel, the mix was bad. The rears were coming out really loud, and I had to crank up my center speaker. It sounded what?
Muddy. It muddled.
Thank you. It just sounded, yeah. And then the streaming kept getting interrupted. It could have been my signal. I was running it through a PlayStation 4. But signal kept getting interrupted. I get big pink screen and it would come back again. It could have been the PS4. It might have been CBS All Access. But I have never had an HBO streaming is pretty horrible, but I've never had a problem on my PS4 before. So I don't know if anybody else had issues.
Yeah, let me just preface this as saying I'm a Big Brother fan. And on Big Brother, CBS All Access is how you access the Big Brother live feeds, the 24/7 cameras they have hooked up in the house. And so I've used CBS All Access a lot. And I've actually, it's actually been very stable for me on the Roku, but I haven't done it a ton through the PS4. I do it through the PS4 from time to time. But I've never had any problems, quite honestly. So I'd be curious to hear from you listeners. Let us know, what do you think of CBS All Access if that's how you're watching this? A lot of people watch the first episode on CBS because it aired on the actual network tonight. It's the only episode to do so. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the service.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to totally give it a chance. It ran better on my Mac when I came back on my Mac. So that's it. I'm a nerd for that stuff though, because I'm watching on my big screen because I wanted to see these rad special effects they were talking about, and I'm going to say they were pretty good. They weren't rad. Okay, the water in the very beginning looked terrible. That was awful. That whole water coming up in the desert, that looked like bad early 2000s video game. Some of the space stuff was really good. Yep. It was really good. But again, I watch Expanse, which is a little show on Sci-Fi made in Canada, and their effects were a million times better. So they need to work on that a little bit, but there's a lot more. They're dealing with a lot more. Okay. So there's battling in the scale. Yeah. So that'll probably get better. But yeah. Pleasantly surprised.
And this was a great show to kick off our fall TV coverage. Gary, you want to hear about all the stuff we're covering here at Nerdrotic? I know you know about it, but I think the listeners
I do, John.
Okay, so we're going to continue to cover Star Trek Discovery. We're also starting next week with Inhumans on September 29th, I believe it airs, and The Gifted on October 2nd. So those are both new shows we have. The Inhumans, I think, is going to be fun. I think it's going to be a terrible show, and I think it's going to be really fun.
We need to, we don't roast very often here.
No. This will be a good roast.
Or maybe I'll be the one guy who liked it.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Wouldn't it be really weird if we came back and we're like, I kind of liked the show.
Okay, yeah.
So
can't see it happening, but
we're also bringing back the CW superhero show. Stay tuned for what night we're going to be recording and releasing that, but it will be live on Facebook through Be Live. So we'll let you know how to see us on Facebook after we're done going through the schedule. But that'll be a Facebook live show that will then port over to YouTube afterwards. But we'll figure out what night we're going to do that, because I think there might be a Friday show because they've added so many of those shows now with Black Lightning. We have to see what the last day is, and then we'll record either on that last day or the day after it. We'll also be back covering Mr. Robot on YouTube. Melissa and I are going to get together and talk about Riverdale. We may not recap every single episode, but we're going to definitely cover it throughout the season from time to time. Stranger Things is dropping at the end of October, season 2. Dennis and Gary will be covering that on YouTube. And then some really great new shows based on comic books that we love. My favorite comic, or at least my favorite showrunner in Josh Schwartz, and one of my favorite Marvel comics, The Runaways, will be dropping on Hulu in late November. And Happy, Derek Robertson's artwork come to life on a sci-fi TV show is going to be on December 6th. So that's all the new fall and early winter stuff that we're going to be covering as far as television. But we also have our weekly news show, Nerdrotic News, that Dennis and Gary run, that I'll be stopping by very often to talk about all of the week's news, geeky news. And we're going to be starting our new Nerdrotic Shorts. We'll have a lot of short form content for all you guys who like shorter clips. That'll be on YouTube. That'll include some of our news and reaction videos, as well as our comic book reviews that we're going to start doing this fall. So stay tuned for our comic book review shorts, also on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on iTunes for the audio. It's Nerdrotic Podcast on iTunes, as well as on YouTube. The video stuff is all dropping there. It's the Nerdrotic Podcast on YouTube. Hit the little bell for alerts. It'll let you know when we drop new stuff. Follow us and like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Nerdrotic Podcast. I'm Jon Reed 16 on Twitter. Gary is our official Twitter feed. It's @Nerdrotics. That's with an S on the end. And we've got our Instagram that's still being managed by your wife, Melissa. It's what is it? Nerdrotic on Instagram?
It's just Nerdrotic. Yeah, search Nerdrotic. Yeah. We're gonna have a prize package. I didn't get anything together this week, but if you like and comment on YouTube, you go into do a little drawing when the series is over after we recapped everything, and you can win a prize pack. It will be Star Trek themed. Watch next episode and I will have one ready.
Awesome. Comment on this episode, watch next episode, and we'll announce the winners of the Star Trek prize pack that Gary are going to be putting together and putting out there on Facebook. You can see all of these prize packs that we're putting together on our Facebook page, as well as news updates and our reactions in text form, in like Facebook comment form, for all you kids out there that use the Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do kids use Facebook anymore?
No, I guess it's just us old people using Facebook.
It kind of is. Hey, sorry I didn't have the prize package together. I honestly didn't think we'd be doing this show. I just thought I'd watch the first one and go, man, that fucking sucked. And then be on now, oh wow, we're in for the long haul now. So might as well have a prize package. What the heck?
And I should be doing a guest spot talking about Star Trek over at Post Show Recaps, which is associated with Rob Has a Podcast. I think I'll be doing the 3rd or 4th episode over there. We're still figuring out which one it's going to be, but you'll have to check that out. And I will be talking about Nerdrotic a little bit when
it's a little YouTube stand, it's just a little podcast, Nothing compared to us, for sure.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we're up to 370 subscribers. Man, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much. When we hit
400, the 400th subscriber will get a very special Nerdrotic prize pack. So, 400th subscriber, that'll be another prize you guys win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time there's a milestone, you guys are going to win. I've got a room full of crap. I've got a house full. I used to own a comic store. And I've got a comic stores full of stuff in my house, and I'm going to give some of it away. Not all of it, but some, why not?
So stay tuned. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 3. Guys, sign up for All Access. It's a good show. It's worth watching, and it's worth watching so you can listen to us talk about it afterwards, because, we're awesome.
Do not pirate it. That would be wrong.
Don't do that.
That is stealing.
You want to lead us out?
Yeah, I'll take it. Do not pirate, and may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Bye, everybody. See you next week. And again, we'll be back with Inhumans and Gifted in the next few days.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.